course record? That's what I need to know.
Hold on.
About 10:25.
About 10:25.
Huh?
It's about 10:25.
I don't know what lead time is.
Oh yeah, I want to try.
Well, even
Yeah, the
morning,
afternoon.
I rode
Oh,
at
okay.
like 8:30.
Okay. It's nice when it is windy. Wind will make it more interesting, right? All right, let's hurry up, Tyler. The saddle's so high it doesn't rest on anything. I have to invent the new technique. Like that.
What are we doing here?
I'm trying to figure out, because my saddle is kind of high anyways, it doesn't work to mount it on this particular rack, so I have to have it racked like this. That'll work fine. I mean, every second could count, you know? Well, yo, that's really all I gotta say, and every day, every time you race, it's always the same, the nerves, wondering what you can get out of yourself, thinking about the competition, and just trying to calm down and stay excited, and yeah, I mean, I know what to do, and I'm gonna go out and hopefully do it, and yeah, I just want the fairy tale to continue, so that's what I'm working on. And you know, my motto for this race is redemption. After racing here so many races, to be honest, so many bad races. Try not to cuss for all the young people who watch anymore on the YouTube. So many bad races here. I need redemption. So I've forgotten about Coeur d'Alene. I've forgotten about all that, and I'm focused on this race. And you're only as good as the next race, which is happening in 30 minutes. So let's make it happen. Okay, here we are. We're back at the original crime scene. Oh wow, they got a big party going on right behind us. Yeah, they let us in for free today. I just told them I won the race, and they rolled the red carpet out and said, you and Kenny, they even knew Kenny's name. They said, oh yeah, we know Kenny, we watch all his videos, and come right on in. And here we are now. Yeah, it was, so if you haven't, you need to go back and you need to watch my pre-race YouTube video, because I called it out pretty much exactly. I said I would go sub 155 on the bike, and I said I would get the course record overall. And I did exactly those two things. I guess from there, we're by the water. Let's talk about the swim. The only thing that really did not go to plan was the swim. Yeah, it was quite an unfortunate swim for me, especially because I went in fairly confident. I guess a few things. One, actually, so I swim with Tyler Butterfield all the time. And so originally I started on the far left side because I thought, oh, that's the better side. I could see the buoys were lined up, and I was like, oh, that's gonna be the most direct route. But then I'd been thinking in the race, like, Tyler, he swims behind me in every freaking swim practice. So I'm like, oh, okay, I should be able to swim at least somewhat close to him. So I said, like, actually, you know, I'm gonna go start right next to him. So I go and I'm standing next to him, and then sure enough, the announcers make the right side. I switched all the way over to the right side. They make us all move back because they had the buoys set up on an angle. So if you're on the right side, you started like 2 body lengths back basically. And then 20 seconds before the start, the gun goes off. He runs all the way over to the far left. Then I'm like, oh no, I'm left out. My whole plan has failed me. And of course, it's no I'm not talking bad about Tyler. He'll get a kick out of this, and he has to do what he has to do. I was just hoping to be able to learn something from him, which I still did, right? You can make those last-minute position changes, and we got out. I just did not have a great start, and then exactly what I was worried about, knowing the field here, was that there were a lot of quite good swimmers, and then there were not really that many medium-level swimmers, such as myself, and then there were kind of a lot of, slower swimmers, and so I basically knew, oh, I'm either going to need to make a aggressive group for me, or I'm going to be in the slower group. And so then, yeah, after 300 meters in, I found myself in the slower group, the group I didn't want to be. I was drafting, and I basically made the decision, oh, if I keep at this pace, I'm going to lose too much time. So after about 500 meters, then I pulled the whole slower group. So not only then did I not draft on anyone the entire bike, I also had to do the entire swim, the work of pretty much the entire swim for the entire group. So I really had a rough day in terms of getting it easy. Like, I had to work for every single second all day, and I came out, and after 70.3 Texas, I had a discouraging lead as well and ended up getting third. So I don't know, I just kind of put my head in and got to work, and it paid off. And I guess it's one other thing about the swim is it actually gives me good information. The last 3 weeks, I basically swam long course, so 50-meter pool every single day, and I thought, oh, that's really going to pay off. It's going to make me better, and it didn't. It almost did the opposite because I wasn't working on that short takeout speed, and so I have to switch things up and do that short takeout speed. But the long course pool did help me because I had better strength endurance through the middle of the race. So it's now just combining the two, I hope, and then, yeah, smarter starting and the positional awareness.
Did you count yourself out of the race when you came out of the water? Carrying your deficit?
No, I didn't, but I think people lied to me about the deficit because I heard all sorts of things. I heard you're 3 minutes back, and I think it was maybe even more like 4 minutes back but I heard 3 minutes back. Everyone told me 3, so I said, oh, 3 is not that bad. It was only when I got home that I found out it was 4 minutes, which made a lot of sense because I was like, how come Appleton's still staying so far ahead most of the bike? But thankfully what happened is I had a day of really just magical legs on the bike. My original plan was to bridge up to the main group of guys that had Bradley and Tyler and Justin and Colin, and once I got up to them, my legs just felt good, so I just went right away, and I was just holding 350 watts all day, and I kept on thinking my legs were going to say oh, slow down, you can't maintain this, but all the way throughout the end of the bike, they were like, you've got more, and to be completely honest, I could have kept that pace up for probably another 15 or 20 miles on the bike. It was not that draining of a day, which was, it was just magical because it's my highest ever power for 70.3. but at altitude. So if you add 8% onto that, it would put me way above and beyond what I've ever done for any 70.3. And yeah, then onto the run. We all kind of watched it, right?
Quick question.
Okay.
Do you think Appo was happy that you didn't bring the group up with you? Because you had no one behind you.
That,
you were solo.
That's true, exactly. He said, we were worried, oh, you're gonna bring people up, and I didn't bring anyone, and I think he was happy about that. I think he was probably a little surprised that I didn't bring anyone up. It is a major feat in today's day and age of racing to come out 30th place out of the water and to not bring one single person up on the bike and to not let anyone draft on you. I didn't let anyone even get on my wheel for 5 seconds, the entire bike, which I guess showed that I had the strength to put in strong pushes. So I think he was happy, although I don't think he was happy when he saw me at the hygiene turnaround. And I think that's kind of when I got in his head a little bit, just because I think at that point he was still expecting to see either the whole group or me kind of at the back of that group. And when he saw how close I was, I think he realized, oh, Sam's bringing me back in on this bike. And yeah, it was just a great bike ride for me.
Now explain catching him and then going into T2.
Oh yeah, exactly. So a lot of people have probably seen this, but I caught him at, I want to say mile 50 to 51, somewhere right in there. And we actually had a slight headwind at that portion. And so to catch him, what I did is I just really got as aero as I could, and I didn't take any nutrition or any water for about 10 minutes. And I sat back partly to get in his head, but then I just got my nutrition, let my legs rest so that I could put another surge in, and then he's still having to do more work for me, so that way when I do make my surge, he's a little bit more tired. And he actually did a good job covering the surge. I mean, we did not come into T2 easy at all. It was some of the hardest riding those final few miles, except for whatever the final 800 meters, obviously, then you let up to get the shoes off and stuff. And yeah, I think it was a brilliant move on my part.
Yeah. All right, so coming in T2, you put 15 seconds into him out of T2.
Yeah, so this deserves a whole explanation here as well. Okay, T2, and we have to talk about shoe choice here, right? People have noticed I wore the Asics as opposed to the Nike. And this was not inspired by both gold medalists wearing Asics. I was actually considering wearing the Asics at Coeur d'Alene. I almost wore them. I was debating about it. I almost put them in my bag, but I had only run in the Asics once at that point. I just bought them, and I decided to do an Ironman in a shoe you've only worn once is asking potentially for disaster. And so I wore them a few more times. I knew I wanted to wear them on this course. I bought them for this course because of the dirt, because of the cross-country nature, because of the turns. I just did not want the Nike, and so anyways, the reason I'm explaining this is because of the benefit of the Asics is I don't have to wear socks. And this is what allowed me to get the benefit in T2. Because of my surge, I came in with about 6 seconds ahead of Sam. And then, I mean, we were right next to each other. So we were watching, and I looked over and I watched him putting his socks on. And I said, sucker, I'm going to get you right here. You know, and no socks and right out. And it's awesome when you can just get that little bit of a benefit right out of the start. I mean, I did pay the price for no socks a little bit. The final 5K, my foot was bleeding, but it was worth it. Sometimes it bleeds anyways, even with socks on, so nothing I wouldn't do.
Awesome, now let's talk about the run. This is the most confident and calm I've ever seen you in a race on the run. Can you explain how confident you felt? Did you know you had it in the bag?
Yeah, well, there's gonna be no way to say this without sounding cocky here. I didn't wear a watch, so I didn't know what pace I was running, but the pace just felt easy to me. There's really no other way to say it. It almost felt like Ironman pace. It felt, honestly, between Ironman pace and 70.3 pace. I was just on absolute cruise control. I mean, I've never had it. I'm smiling at the crowd. I'm asking people what the time of day is, you know. I mean, I was just so coherent, and I still had some concerns of, oh, someone could whip out some crazy fast run, mostly because I didn't have the watch, and I was like, my perception was that I was running like 550 pace, that I was running like a 114 or 115. That's what the effort felt like, but it was a 112 pace. And so, I mean, this was just the run dreams are made out of. And yeah, I kept asking myself, when are my legs gonna hurt? When am I gonna feel this? I just did a strong bike, but it feels like I'm out for a jog. And yeah, it's just embracing the process, showing up on race day, the taper, the rest a little bit, I guess, although there really wasn't much of a taper for this race, so I don't know. I mean, I've run out on this damn wall hundreds of times, and most of my training runs felt harder, and maybe it was fueled by my mantra for this race, and my mantra for this race was one word. It was redemption, right? And 2 years ago I did this race. I crashed my bike. I've talked about it a lot this week. I crashed my bike 3 days before the race. I actually duct taped my arm with stuff so that it didn't get infected in the swim, and my hip was bruised, and I got on the run, and it was agony for the whole time. And I ran like an hour and 25 minutes, and that run was 3 times as hard as this run, I would honestly say. And it's just great when you get a good day like that, and when you get it, you own it and you go with it. And yeah.
You had another mantra on the run. Who are you doing this race for?
Yeah, exactly. I mean, and I think that's why the pain just went away. It just subsided because I had my own mantra for myself, but I was also just so excited to do it for Boulder and all the people I grew up with and all the volunteers. And I mean, I had lots of the Ironman staff come up to me. I mean, Dave Christian, you know, he came up and after the race and he's like, this wasn't just a win for you. This was a win for all of us in Boulder. I mean, it's different when, you know, you came to Boulder when you were 25 or something as opposed to when you grew up here, and we're kind of a rare breed. And so I think it meant a lot to this town to make that happen. And And I was aware of that, and so it gave me that extra push.
Do you think this race kind of solidifies who you are as an athlete more? I mean, people are always going to be like, oh, until he wins Worlds, until he wins Kona, but...
I mean, I think it's a great question. Like, I don't think any other athlete has had to keep proving themselves over and over and over and over and over and over again. And every time I keep proving myself, and every time they're still like, that was a fluke, that was a fluke. Yeah, 6 weeks ago at Coeur d'Alene, you're right, that was a fluke. 5 weeks before that, I guess St. George was a fluke. Last year, Daytona, Ironman Florida, 270.3 wins, all of those were flukes. Like, I don't know, I'm getting to the point where it's like, I don't know what else I have to do to prove that I'm the real deal. I really don't. So, I mean, I guess the only thing I have to do is go and take the GOAT down.
Who's the GOAT?
The GOAT is the man, Jan Frodeno. We all know it.
What's your focus now? What's on the radar?
Yeah, exactly. So we wanted to make a whole YouTube video exactly for this, but it's going to get more views now anyways because we just won. But the big question is, what's the focus of the year? What's the schedule? It's championship season, and together, my coach Ryan Bolton and I, we've decided to focus on 70.3 Worlds at St. George, actually over Ironman Hawaii. I think that might come as a surprise to a lot of people, but let me explain why. Number one, I'm 25 years old. I'm just getting started in this sport. Number two, St. George is a one-of-a-kind course. It suits me really, really well. Number three, Ironman Hawaii is a journey. It's a commitment, and I'm gonna be racing there for the next 15 years of my life. And I think if you place undue pressure on yourself your first year there, you almost always go worse. So I actually think by taking the pressure off of myself at Hawaii, I'll likely do better. And finally, number four, I think from a physiological perspective, being 25 years old, it makes a lot of sense to focus on that speed, to focus on getting that high end. It forces me to work on my swim a bit more. And over time, because I'm not just trying to be good this year, I'm trying to be better every single year and peak, you know, in 5 years. And so I think it sets up my season, not only this season better, but it sets up my entire career better. And I'm passionate about St. George. It's one of my favorite places to race. So that's the decision, you know. St. George is going to be the focus, and that's why I think it made a lot of sense to do this race. I was not going to do 70.3 Boulder with Kona as the focus, but if 70.3 is the focus, it makes sense to do 70.3s and keep raising that game. And that's that. I guess, guys, the yo-yo-yo hat, I mean, we got more merchandise. I guess I'm colorblind. I don't know the difference between black and white, but we released a pocket yo-yo-yo tee as well, so we'll put the link in the bio. And yeah, I never like to wear hats, but this is a true run hat. I think it looked freaking dope running in yesterday, and so get one. I think you'll all love them, and yeah, you can flip it up like that too. And thanks everyone. It's so great to get the hometown win, and yeah, 2 days of celebration and back to work next week.